in American history. And I've been watching the TV all day saying that he doesn't want to talk about affordability. That's what he's working on every day, and that's what this administration is doing.
Right now. But you know why they refuse to cover it?
Can I
because they're fake news. That's why. Go ahead.
Can I get her someone?
Sure. Caroline, the Prime Minister would like you to work for him in Hungary.
Please consider.
You know what? That's a very good decision you just made. Please don't leave us, Caroline.
Yesterday, Sleepy Gonzalez took a little siesta during his noontime cabinet meeting.
This war started, it never would have happened if you'd been president. But this war is going on, and the president is trying to end it.
Would you please lower your voice, Marco? You're going to wake him up. He had his eyes closed for a lot of the meeting. I mean, that was just a fraction, a ton of the meeting, which, of course, is his MO. Whatever he is, he accuses everyone else of being.
Donald Trump is freaking out and he's rushing to his favorite judge, Judge Aileen Cannon, to try to get her to block turning over Volume 2 of Special Counsel Jack Smith's criminal case and investigation into Donald Trump. Volume 2 relates to Donald Trump bringing classified and top secret documents back to Mar-a-Lago, of which could be included nuclear secrets as well. Now, Special Counsel Jack Smith has been saying, hey, I'm here and I want to testify publicly before the Senate and the House of Representatives. I've got nothing to hide.
What Jimmy Kimmel actually said about Karoline Leavitt is way more brutal than any fake AI video could ever capture. And her response? Let's just say the White House press secretary did not take it well. But first, smash that subscribe button because we're about to expose both the fake news and the real tea that mainstream media doesn't want you talking about. Let me start with the truth bomb. Karoline Leavitt has never appeared on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Not once, not ever. Snopes fact-checked it, Sportskeeda debunked it. Even the White House Deputy Press Secretary Harrison Fields called it fake news in an official statement. ABC confirmed no such interview ever happened. So where did all those videos come from?
Now, there was some new information in the documents. Contrary to what Trump's Attorney General Pam Bondi said, there was video of that missing minute of security footage shot outside Epstein's cell. That footage somehow this footage got re-edited more times than the Zack Snyder Justice.
So this administration has done more than any, and it just shows how this is truly a manufactured hoax by the Democrat Party. For now, they're talking about it all of a sudden because President Trump is in the Oval Office. But when Joe Biden was sitting in there, the Democrats never brought this up. This wasn't an issue that they cared about because they actually don't care about the victims in these cases. They care about trying to score political points against President Trump, as we have, of course, seen with this government shutdown.
I want to talk about the case that we were preparing. So let me testify publicly because you've got MAGAs like Jim Jordan and MAGA Mike Johnson and James Comer and virtually all these other MAGAs who are lying about the investigation, and they're saying, oh, Jack Smith did unlawful FBI raids in Mar-a-Lago, and Jack Smith's like, put me under oath. If you want to talk crap on state regime media, which is known as Fox News, you could do it, but why don't you have me there live? And don't do it in some back room thing where you'll manipulate what I say. Let the American people see you, tough guys and tough gals. Ask me the question. And to do that, Volume 2 would need to be released, right? Because that includes a lot of the investigatory work and the findings. So Jack Smith says, let's put that out there. And in every single special counsel case in the history of the United States since special counsels,
AI-generated garbage designed to rack up millions of views, and it worked. One YouTube video alone got over 68,000 views with a title claiming Karoline Leavitt kicked off from Jimmy Kimmel's show after fiery clash. Another got 77,000 views. TikTok exploded with clips showing what looked like Leavitt and Kimmel having a meltdown on set. But if you look closely, and I mean really closely, you can see the telltale signs. Kimmel's hand has 6 fingers in some frames. Leavitt's facial features are too smooth, lacking natural skin texture. The whole thing looks like it was cooked up by someone who's never actually watched a real episode of late-night TV. Some of these channels even admitted in their descriptions that the content was entirely fictional and crafted solely for entertainment.
Did the president ever spend hours at Jeffrey Epstein's house with a victim?
These emails prove absolutely nothing other than the fact that President Trump did nothing wrong. And what President Trump has always said is that he was from Palm Beach, and so was Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein was a member at Mar-a-Lago until President Trump kicked him out because Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile and he was a creep. And this email you refer to with the name of a victim that was unredacted now and has since been reported on in this room, so I will go ahead and say it, Virginia Giuffre. And it was CBS's own reporting, Ouija, that recently wrote that Miss Giuffre maintained, and God rest her soul, that she maintained that there was nothing inappropriate she ever witnessed, that President Trump was always extremely professional and friendly to her. And so I think it's a question worth asking the Democrat Party, and you should all go ask them after this briefing, of why they chose to redact that name of a victim who has already publicly made statements about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and is unfortunately no longer with us.
Crooked Hillary, Sleepy Joe, but the fact is, we all watched him dozing off repeatedly on television, which meant the Don Trump Admiration and Ball Gobbling Society was forced to go into overdrive today to defend him.
If you sleep 3 hours or 4 hours a night, you're probably going to close your eyes, whether you're 79 or 49.
If this president closes his eyes for a moment, it's like, what's wrong with him? I mean, it is so laughable, Stuart.
They just won't quit, Martha, will they? Just won't.
I mean, it is laughable.
I mean, who wouldn't doze off in one of these things? 3 hours after working a 50-hour week, I imagine you.
I believe the man doesn't sleep either. All right. Well, except for maybe for a quick 10-minute intervals.
Thomas Edison believed in the 10-minute nap, by the way. What would they say? We wouldn't have electricity, right?
Right. It's such a good point. Is that what you liberals want? No electricity? Because we will give that to you. This is fake snooze. I don't know. I don't know that much about Thomas Edison, but I have a feeling he took his naps when the cameras were off.
After the special counsel's investigation's over, they testify, they have access to the report, and there can be redactions, of course, if there's some classified information, and then they testify. We've seen this over and over again. When a special counsel was appointed into former President Biden, that individual testified and he had his report and the Republicans released it. So Jack Smith's saying, let's do it. So Donald Trump, though, rushes to court on December 2nd. You see it right here. Donald Trump's motion for leave to participate as an amicus curiae. He wants to participate to basically tell Judge Eileen Cannon, here's what you need to do for me. And here's what he says in this, basically this emergency intervention motion. And the reason that he needs to intervene is because the cases, the United States government versus Walter Nauta, who is Donald Trump's bag man. And this was the criminal case against Donald Trump. So here's what it says. It says, on February 14, 2025, or it says on January 21st, 2025, Judge Cannon granted the emergency motion of Nauta and De Oliveira to preclude the release of Volume 2 of the final report.
Now here's where it gets interesting. While Karoline Leavitt never sat across from Jimmy Kimmel on his couch, Kimmel absolutely did destroy her repeatedly in his monologues. And what he said was so savage that you could argue the truth is actually more entertaining than the fake viral videos. Let's start with January 28th, 2025. Karoline Leavitt had just become the youngest White House press secretary in U.S. history at 27 years old. That's impressive, right? A young woman breaking barriers in Washington. But during her very first week on the job, Jimmy Kimmel dropped a bomb that had people talking for weeks. During his monologue, Kimmel acknowledged her historic achievement, saying she was the youngest person ever to hold that position. And then, bam, he hit her with this.
Biden did manage to get in, well, what might be a short nap, or maybe I should just say nodding off, or maybe just resting his tired old eyes for about, 12 seconds, and then struggling to keep his eyes open, staring off into the distance, again, befuddled, bewildered, dazed, and confused.
And where is Joe Biden right now? Where is their focus? Not only is he at an international climate change conference, but he's falling asleep there.
I'm looking at Donald Trump in these meetings in the Middle East, and then I look at the clips of President Biden literally falling asleep in the middle of an international meeting.
Creaky, creepy, sleepy Joe Biden. Try to say that fast.
Sleepy Joe, with the sunglasses on so you can't tell that he's nodded off.
Joe Biden's superpower is sleeping.
All Joe Biden does is eat and sleep. Basically the same schedule as my newborn.
Does Joe Biden sleep in a crib or a crypt?
We are past his beddy time. Joe had his warm milky from his favorite sippy cup.
You have Joe Biden who's sleeping on a beach every single day.
Joe Biden who's sleeping at the beach. Look at him there. You will never see a picture like that of Donald Trump.
Who wants to sleep in public? He's sleeping.
Wait a minute. It's almost like these people are hypocrites.
With all due respect to former President Obama, he has no idea what he's talking about. The decision to fire Jimmy Kimmel and to cancel his show came from executives at ABC. That has now been reported, and I can assure you it did not come from the White House, and there was no pressure given from the President of the United States. And how do I know that, Kaylee? Because I was with the President of the United States when this news broke.
In the order, the court denied Trump's request to intervene in proceedings, but granted his alternative, unopposed request to participate as an amicus to challenge the release of Volume 2. Trump's amicus is docketed wherever, and counsel for Trump appeared on his behalf at the court's January 17, 2025 hearing. On February 14, 2025 and February 24th, respectively, American Oversight and the Knight Institute moved to intervene in the district court proceedings and seek dissolution and/or rescission of the court's order, because the case was gone. The Knight Institute also seeks an order from the court directing the clerk to publicly file a copy of Volume 2 on the public docket. The remaining parties to the litigation, the United States, Nauta, and De Oliveira, filed joint status reports on March 14th and December 1st, 2025, indicating their positions with respect to the release of Volume 2, and filed their respective briefs in opposition to the pending motions on March 24th and March 14th. Remember those dates, March 24th and March 14th. Trump hereby moves for leave to participate in the proceedings as an amicus, for the limited purpose of reaffirming and incorporating by reference his prior legal arguments to the court, as well as those made by co-defendants Nauta and De Oliveira, that Volume 2 of Jack Smith's final report should not be made public. Trump's limited participation in the proceedings will not cause delay or prejudice any party, as this request is consistent with the court's prior decision to grant Trump's amicus status on January 21st, 2025. So you may be saying, Ben, March motions were filed. That's a long time ago. Or January. What has Judge Cannon been doing? Nothing. She's been sitting on this and refusing to issue an order, violating her judicial ethics by not acting upon these motions. Why? She would want this to delay this forever. So her bosses at the 11th Circuit, they had to intervene, and they told Cannon, you have to do something. You have to make a decision. I just want you to observe Judge Cannon right there, delaying, not fulfilling her job as a judge. The 11th Circuit has to get involved. Then Trump says, keep it secret. So I ask you, who are the ones hiding things here?
She's married to a much older real estate magnate, which, you know, in that case, you're hired. Let that sink in. In one sentence, Kimmel implied that Leavitt got her job not because of her qualifications, but because her marriage to a much older real estate developer reminded Trump of his own relationship with Melania. You see, Leavitt is married to Nicholas Riccio, a real estate mogul who is 32 years older than her. 32 years, that's not a typo. Her husband is closer in age to her parents than he is to her. And Kimmel didn't just make the joke once and move on. He kept going, calling her the ringleader at the White House who promised a new and more circus-like atmosphere going forward. He was basically saying her entire appointment was a joke based on Trump's type. Social media went absolutely nuclear.
No one's losing more sleep this week than our Secretary of War Crimes, Pete Hegseth. According to a watchdog report from the Pentagon Office of the Inspector General, Hegseth violated regulations when he texted war plans to a Signal group chat that included a reporter from The Atlantic. Yeah, no kidding, Yvonne. That's, though, is the least of his problems. His big one is what they're calling a double-tap strike on a supposed Venezuelan drug boat. The U.S. military attacked this boat and then blew up the survivors in a second attack. A news report said Hegseth's order going in was to kill everybody, which, according to his former co-worker and former Superior Court judge, is a war crime.
It gives me no pleasure to say what I'm about to say because I worked with Pete Hegseth for 7 or 8 years at Fox News. This is an act of a war crime, ordering survivors who the law requires be rescued instead to be murdered.
Let's bring in Harry Littman from the Talking Feds YouTube channel, the Talking Feds Substack, and the Talking Feds podcast. This is where I say, Harry, throw aside Democrat, Republican, what you think of the issues, okay? Jack Smith is saying, I want to go under oath. in public in front of the world. The MAGAs are saying, we want to talk about you on Fox. We don't really want to do that. Judge Cannon's not making the report public, and Trump saying, you know what? I'd rather post on my social media platforms than actually let the American people see the report and judge for themselves. To me, that tells me everything, Harry. What do you make of this all?
To me, that tells me everything as well, Ben, but it is breathtakingly hypocritical and not to mention directly contrary to the public interest. So let's review the bidding just a little bit. They come in and squelch a prosecution that by all accounts, said January 6th also, but there were some vis-a-vis Trump, hard, potentially constitutional issues. This stuff, he's not president and he's just completely not just absconding with, but obstructing, refusing to give all the documents. It's a red-handed.
Instagram critics constantly joke that they can't tell if her husband is her father or grandfather whenever she posts family photos. One Fox News comedian even warned her to stay away from Bill Belichick because of his 49-year age gap with his girlfriend. Even her own slip-ups made it worse. During an office tour in May 2025, she showed off photos on her wall, including one of her son and Trump, but somehow forgot to include her husband. But Kimmel wasn't done with Leavitt, not even close. That same week in January 2025, Leavitt held her debut press briefing where she repeated Trump's false claim that the military had turned on the water in California to solve the wildfire crisis. Kimmel played the clip and absolutely eviscerated her.
Now, this bill forces the documents to be released despite the White House's objections. But if you were to read between the lines of what Pam Bondi was saying in her press conference today, it's pretty clear that they're already considering running cover for something. Why not just release it all? Who are you trying to protect here? Because it's certainly not the victims. They have called for full transparency and release.
Off topic.
On the Epstein files, does the new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
Everybody along the line who did it, from the Secretary of Defense to the Admiral to the people who actually pulled the trigger, should be prosecuted for a war crime for killing these two people.
I agree with Frankie Valli in a hairnet. Do you know how badly a member of Trump's inner circle has to screw up to get criticized on Newsmax? I mean, if Pete Hegseth had run that guy's foot over, he would have said, it's okay, I got another one. Now he's saying, lock him up. This is a war crime. And then there was even more damning statement from another prominent member of the Trump cult from back in 2016, and that member is Pete Hegseth himself.
And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief.
Wow, the same guy who's threatening to court-martial Senator Mark Kelly for making a video saying troops don't have to follow unlawful orders is on video saying troops don't have to follow unlawful orders, and there should be consequences for war crimes.
This might be worse than when Trump made Sean Spicer say he had the biggest inauguration crowd in history, Kimmel said. For those who don't remember, Sean Spicer was Trump's first press secretary, who lasted only 182 days before resigning in humiliation after being forced to defend obvious lies. Comparing Leavitt to Sean Spicer in her first week on the job, that's the political equivalent of telling someone you're going to fail spectacularly, and here's the example of exactly how it'll happen. Then came September 2025, and things got really uncomfortable. Trump was aboard Air Force One when reporters asked him if Karoline Leavitt was doing a good job. His response, absolutely creepy. Trump said it would never happen that he'd replace her, then added, that face and those lips. They move like a machine gun, right? Jimmy Kimmel played the clip on his September 25th show and the audience collectively groaned. I mean, does the White House have HR? Kimmel said with an uncomfortable laugh. He's openly musing about this woman's lips that are like a machine gun. I feel like if I live to be 1,000 years old, I won't ever see anything as weird as this man running our country. Here's where it gets even weirder. Trump made similar comments about Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni during a summit in Egypt, calling her a beautiful young woman in front of international leaders. Kimmel pointed out that Trump has a pattern of commenting on women's appearances in deeply inappropriate ways, including his own daughter. For Leavitt, having your boss, the President of the United States, objectify you on Air Force One while you're trying to do your job, and then having Jimmy Kimmel expose how creepy it is to millions of viewers, that's got to sting. But the knockout punch came in November 2025 during Thanksgiving week.
Why can't that guy be Secretary of Defense? He clearly knows what he's talking about. Maybe when they fire Pete Hegseth 2025, they'll replace him with Pete Hegseth 2016. The good news is the economy is doing great. Oh, wait, it is not doing great. Bankruptcies of mom and pop small businesses have hit an all-time high. That's the bad news. The good news is the Trump family business booming. If mom and pop companies, if they want to make money, maybe they should run for president. Think about that. The tariffs are exacting a major toll on the economy, no matter what Trump says. But one big company, maybe the best company of all, is fighting back. Costco is suing the Trump administration over the tariffs. In the event that, it's interesting because the Supreme Court may very well rule that Trump was not allowed to use the Emergency Economic Powers Act because there was no economic emergency to enact these tariffs. And Costco says, well, if that happens, we want the dollars we spent back, which would put Trump in a terrible bind. He'd either have to disregard a ruling from the Supreme Court, which would create a constitutional crisis that would likely destroy his presidency, or even more devastating for him personally, he'd have to give someone their money back. I didn't think it was possible for me to love you more, Costco. Thank you. If I was Trump, I gotta say, the last company, I wouldn't want to piss off Costco. It's the only store that sells Depends in bulk. He's such a scoundrel. Yesterday, they announced a plan to withhold SNAP benefits for Americans who live in blue states. The average SNAP benefit is $6 a day. That's less than Trump spends on honey mustard. That keeps people alive. Every day they come up with a new way to be cruel to the poor.
The White House held the traditional turkey pardoning ceremony, and Leavitt brought her young son to the press briefing room to meet Waddle, one of the turkeys. It was supposed to be a wholesome, apolitical moment. A National Turkey Federation representative asked Waddle, "Want to give us a gobble?" The turkey obliged. And Kimmel's response, "See, fascists have fun too. It's fun." He called Trump and Leavitt fascists on national television during Thanksgiving while she was holding her baby son. Conservative media watchdog Newsbusters immediately flagged the clip, calling it outrageous. But Kimmel didn't care. He'd made his point. So how did Karoline Leavitt respond to all this? Well, she never appeared on Kimmel's show to defend herself, despite what those fake videos claim. Instead, she went on Fox News and conservative outlets where she complained about media bias and late-night hosts who mock women with differing views. She appeared on Newsmax and called Kimmel a wacko with terrible ratings. She tried to dismiss his platform by saying he was irrelevant. But here's the thing. If he was so irrelevant, why did she keep going on Fox News to talk about him? The truth is, Jimmy Kimmel got under her skin. The age gap marriage jokes, the Sean Spicer comparisons, exposing Trump's creepy comments about her lips, calling her a fascist, it all added up. And she couldn't do anything about it except complain to conservative media that would agree with her. Here's what makes this whole saga so fascinating. The fake videos showed Leavitt as some kind of warrior who stood up to Kimmel and walked off his set in triumph. But the reality is so much more interesting. She never got the chance to confront him. Instead, she had to sit back and watch as he methodically destroyed her reputation, piece by piece, night after night, and she couldn't do anything except complain from the safety of friendly Fox News interviews. The fake viral videos made her look strong. The real story shows she was powerless. If you enjoyed learning the truth behind the viral fake news, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Should Karoline Leavitt actually go on Jimmy Kimmel Live and face him? Or would that be career suicide? Let me know what you think. And remember, in the age of AI-generated content, always check your sources. Because sometimes the real story is way more brutal than anything a computer can dream up. This is America Facticity, keeping you informed on what they don't want you to know.